Hey, this is Vu, and today I'm going to be talking about a bit of a worrying trend that's really happened since the start of CSGO, and that is T-sided maps. Now, I've noticed that this has been toned down at least a little bit recently. However, it's something that's concerned me for quite a while in terms of what way map development is really going to head in CSGO, and it's something that I rarely see other people talk about, so I thought I'd mention this. Now, the first thing you should notice here, and pretty much everybody that watches this video probably already knows, that the economy quite heavily favors the terrorist side in CS. And that generally means that when a map is CT sided, it gives the terrorist side an ability to continue to force up when they're going down in rounds and try and break the counter-terrorist side's economy, try and get some picks off, try and do things to actually bring back the game. And it means that if you get a couple of kills as a terrorist side and you still lose the round, there's a good chance that if the counter-terrorist side spent a lot of nades, they're probably actually losing money. Whereas if you're on the counter-terrorist side, it's actually a bit harder to break the economy of the terrorists in terms of either making them lose money in a round or actually breaking the economy in general. And what you're going to notice is that T-sided maps, especially heavily T-sided maps, are going to be some of the maps with the most kind of discrepancy between game to game between any, even level team. And the reason for this is, if you can imagine for a second, if a terrorist side wins a pistol round, this is kind of how the economy works. If they have good anti-ecos, and it's not always a given that you're going to have good anti-ecos, but on some of these maps it's not too hard, and especially the way it's kind of happening, it feels like good anti-ecos are kind of getting a little bit more common recently, although, I might be totally out of my mind. That's the way I've seen it recently. Now, this means that when you go into the first gun round, if you've had good anti-ecos, you have the ability as a terrorist team to buy up even if you lose that gun round. Now, the counter-terrorist team will never have that ability, or at least very rarely, unless they buy up, M4s on round 2 and don't die on round 2 or 3, or if, they saved SMGs and used them on the 4th round. Typically, it's very rare for this to happen, that the counter-terrorist can lose the first gun round and still be able to buy up heading into the next, which means on a counter-terrorist sided map, it's quite possible for a terrorist-sided team to turn around and still break the economy of the counter-terrorists at generally any point during the half. Because, it's hard to build an economy as the counter-terrorist, and it doesn't have this ridiculous ability on these terrorist-sided maps where the terrorists can win pistol round, and pistol rounds are broken to begin with. In my opinion, I'll make another video on that, to be honest, to go over that specifically, but I think pistol rounds are fairly random, and it's really hard to expect those to play out naturally. You win that, you go into the first gun round, and all of a sudden you can buy up even if you lose that. So the typical scenario can very possibly happen. The counter-terrorists win one round, and because it's a T-sided map, they're actually expected to lose more than 50% of the gun rounds. So they win the first gun round, and if you are on terrorist side, it'd be like, okay, they're going to be ecoing, we can pick up a round here, we can start to build something, trying to get an economy together, and try and build some rounds here. However, as counter-terrorists, especially if you win that first gun round and lose all of your members, you're not going to be on a full buy-up heading into the next round. So that's going to be round number 5. You're not going to be heading into a good buy-up there. You're going to be down 3-1. If you lose this round, you're going to be on a double eco. So there's a very real possibility that more than 50% of the time, if you're on a theoretical map where terrorists win 55-60% of gun rounds, more than 50% of the time you get popped onto another eco and you go down 5-1 because you're going to be double ecoing because you're a counter-terrorist. Whereas if you are a terrorist side, you win that first gun round and you lose, you can still buy up. And then you're only maybe on a single eco if you've got a couple bomb plants there. And so really the way it favors the terrorists causes these maps to be incredibly random and focus so much on early round, early half success from the counter-terrorist side that it really feels like these maps play out in a really frustrating manner, where it's very easy for you to have a game where you go down 10, 11, 12, 1 and you've only had a couple of gun rounds and you only feel like you had, a small chance to come back, and then you get a couple rounds and it feels like, wow, if we had only gotten those earlier on in the half, maybe we could actually be having a chance to win the game here. Now, of course, this happens both ways. Economies can break for the terrorists just as well as they can break for the counter-terrorists. However, hopefully I've kind of mapped out something that is a little bit worrying to you guys as well. This idea that counter-terrorists have their economy broken so easily that when you go into a map where the terrorist side is expected to win more than half of gun rounds, it really feels kind of messed up, and it feels like there's so much luck involved. Maybe even not that there really is, but at least when you play on these maps, it really feels like, wow, down 11-1 again. Welcome to this map. This just, it feels so frustrating to play, and it's really just not fun. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.